Okay, so we're going to turn it up a notch. Okay, here. They're talking about a rectangle. So since they're talking about a shape, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the shape, and you should do the same thing. Draw the shape, a rectangle. And whatever the description of the rectangle, I'm going to write it down as I'm reading it. So they tell me if the length of the rectangle is 3 times its width. So the length is here, right? So they tell me length equals, because remember is means equals, so length equals 3 times its width. So L equals 3W, 3 times its width, and the perimeter is 48. So P equals 48. I don't know if you know what perimeter is, but the perimeter of anything is the distance all the way around that object. Okay? So starting here, the distance all the way around is the perimeter. And the formula to find a perimeter is 2L plus 2W. That's the formula for perimeter. So if the perimeter equals 48, so I'm going to write 48 for P. And the length is the same as 3W, so wherever I see L, I'm going to write 3W. 2 times 3W plus 2W. Right? See, because they tell me in the equation that the length is the same as 3W. And since this is the formula for perimeter, and they also tell me what the perimeter is, I start plugging in numbers. So I write my formula, and they tell me that the perimeter is 48, so I see P equals 48, so I plug it in. Wherever I see P, I write 48, you see? And then in the word problem, they tell me that L is the same as 3W, so wherever I see L, I write 3W, right? That's why I wrote 3W here, 2 times 3W. And then part of the formula is plus 2W, so I write the plus 2W. So then I start solving for W. Once I know what W is, I'm going to plug it in here to figure out what L is. So 48 equals 2 times 3W, which is 6W, plus 2W. So 48 equals 8W, right? I want to get W by itself, so I'm going to divide by the coefficient of W, which is 8. And 48 divided by 8 is 6, because 8 times 6 is 48. So my answer is 6 equals W. So now I know what W is. W equals 6. So I'm going to plug it in here, right? Plug it in here. And I get L equals 3 times 6. And 3 times 6 is 18, so L equals 18. Okay, so that means that the length, the distance from here to here is 18, and the width, which is the distance from here to here, is 6, right? So 18 plus 6 and plus 18 plus 6. If I add all those numbers up, I get the perimeter. So 18 plus 18 is 36, and 6 plus 6 is 12, so I add that up. 6 plus 2 is 8, and 3 plus 1 is 4, so P equals 48. So that means my answer is right, because they had already told me that P equals 48, and when I plug in my numbers, I get 48 for the perimeter, so I know my answer is right. So in this word problem, they're talking about a city lot. So a city lot is usually a square or a rectangle, so I'm going to draw a rectangle, right? And then they describe it for me, right? They tell me the city lot is twice as long as it is wide. So length equals 2 times W, because the length is twice as wide as it is long, right? And the perimeter is 48, so I'm going to write over here P equals, 480. And they want me to figure out what the width is, right? So I already know the formula that P equals 2L plus 2W. So I'm going to use this formula, and I'm going to plug in my numbers into the formula. So I've got P equals 480. So I'm going to plug in 480 for P. You see? And then they tell me in the equation that L is the same as 2W. So wherever I see L, I'm going to write 2W. So 2 times 2W plus 2W. Then I'm going to solve for W. So I get 480 equals 2 times 2 is 4W plus 2w. I'm going to combine like terms. 6w, 4 plus 2, 6w, and I've got 480, so 480. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 6 to get rid of the 6. 6. And 480 divided by 6 is, if you use a calculator, or if you do it in your head, like 488 divided by 6 is 8, right? And then I just add a 0. That gives me 80. So 80 equals W. So I figured out what W is. W equals 80. So that means that the distance from here to here is 80, right? And since L is twice W, I know 2 times 80, or 2 times 8 is 16. So I know that 2 times 80 is 160. So the distance from here to here is 160, right? The distance from here to here is 80. And the distance from here to here is 160. And when I add these up with each other all together, I'm going to find that they all add up to 480, because the distance all the way around equals 480. That's what perimeter means, the distance all the way around.